this computer because I don't want. Rodrigo's here. All right, we're just waiting on everyone else and the financial speaker. Let's see. Wait, so are you guys ready to learn about finances today?
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I definitely have a bad habit.
Yeah.
A bad habit, like money-wise?
Yeah, sometimes I'll splurge too much.
Especially as the holiday season is coming up, it's so easy to just spend and spend and spend and spend.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm stressed out. It's finals. New Lululemon sweater. Here I come.
Lululemon is such a ripoff. I don't know why anybody buys their stuff.
They're so expensive.
Yes.
It's expensive.
Like, it's a pair of leggings, dude. You can get leggings from anywhere.
But the material, though, that's the thing.
The material.
I have some good material leggings from Costco that were $15. Yeah, Fabletics. I don't have any, but they're good.
I don't have one either.
I've heard they're good.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna wear my Lululemon stuff anymore around you guys.
I mean, like, I respect people who have the money to buy them.
I have 2 actually, so well 3. But
oh, come on, Riza. You're supposed to be the financial person.
Dang. Okay, Max. We are still waiting on some people. More rolling around towards 5. All right, it is 5. Let's go ahead and give them 2 more minutes to come in before beginning.
Yeah, we're just having a couple members having trouble finding the link, so I'm helping them out right now.
All right, everybody, it's 5:02. We're going to go ahead and begin. This is going to be a financial literacy with Max Drexler. I'm so excited to have him. He was a graduate of GCU, so he knows the struggle of being a college student, as well as he works with many people in graduate school with their finances. And I don't want to take too much of your time because we're all waiting for you. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor now, Max.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep,
Good.
we can hear
Cool.
you.
Cool. Yeah, so a little background on me. I'm actually from upstate New York area. I moved out to Arizona for grad school. So I worked in the athletic department in the equipment room, and I was going to grad school for my MBA. Had a great time at GCU. I really enjoyed it. So I love, giving back and helping out when I can. I still live here in Arizona. After grad school, I got into finance. Been in finance now for about 3 going on 4 years, and kind of have found my niche helping younger individuals like yourselves. I typically work with attorneys, physicians, and just young professionals, just kind of having an overall financial plan. And what I'd like to just chat about with you guys today is just kind of some of the things that I see that come up in the medical profession. I know you all are pre-med, and I know there's a lot of different avenues that you can get into in the medical space. So just try and give like a broader kind of overview of at least what I see from a financial side of your career path, and just kind of different things that you can implement and maybe just take note now to maybe help you, when you do get into that workforce and start working and, hopefully making the big bucks. So I'll dive into it. Let me pull up the PowerPoint here. Okay, can you guys see the PowerPoint okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. So obviously the big thing, and you all are in pre-med, so depending on kind of what avenue you dive into, for your secondary education, you may spend quite a bit more time in school, right? I've been in your shoes. I understand it's a lengthy process, and with that, obviously, it can be expensive. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys. These are just some average numbers of kind of different career paths that you can take in the medical space and kind of what the average student debt looks like. And this was obviously a couple of years ago, but just taking a look at that, obviously it's a lot of money. And there's no easy way of saying that. And it's not meant to scare you. It's just, it's the facts, and that's the career choice that you guys have taken. And so I just like to outline this to start because the number's there, and there's a ton of solutions that you can implement. And the earlier you implement those, the better off you will be in the long run. So obviously just looking at those, and I can share the article with anyone that wants it. This was an article from a different financial institution, kind of talking about a lot of the stuff that I'm going to go over today. But average medical student debt, around 190,000. Dental student, 280,000. Pharmacy, a little bit less, 160. And, when you think about paying these loans off, I have student loans. I'm on a 10-year plan. It's obviously the more loans you take out, the more your monthly payments are going to be. And so I'd say on average, you're looking at $1,000 a month just in student debt. So, and I would say that's being very conservative, to be completely honest. So if you think about that over a year, that's $12,000 that, you do have to pay back. And it's just trying to find the right solutions and implementing the right solutions so that it's not a major concern. You can still live your life. You can still go out to dinner, hang out with friends, and know that that's going to be taken care of. So how do we manage this, right? There's different things, not sure how everyone feels about, staying at home for a couple of years, living with the parents, moving back in. I know I moved out right after school. And so, I had monthly rental payments on top of my student debt and day-to-day, expenses. That is one way that you can certainly save money and really knock down the principal on your student debt. Looking at longer repayment plans. The positive to that is you're going to have some lower payments. The negative is that you're going to have a lot of accrued interest over 15 to 20 years. So looking at a plan side by side, you can find what is best for you. And it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different way of attacking their student debt. Do I refinance? I mean, right now it's a perfect example. We're at all-time lows on interest rates. My fiance and I bought a house this year. We were very lucky, kind of got in before the craziness of COVID, but the interest rates were super low this year. Anyone with student debt should probably look into refinancing if they have the ability. We're talking like 3% interest rates, sometimes lower. And I mean, that's almost unheard of, right? If you were to pull up your student loans now, you're probably looking at like anywhere from 7 to 10% interest rates. So you're literally cutting that in half potentially, and saving yourself costs in the long run. The CARES Act, if you're not familiar with that, that's what's been implemented kind of due to COVID. So right now there's a freeze on anyone that's making student loan payments. So you can freeze those payments because of kind of the hardships that we faced this year. Now, the benefit to that is that you don't have to make the payment, and the interest isn't accruing right now. The negative is that it's not necessarily negative, but if you have the ability to make the payments, you're not accruing any interest currently. So if you have the ability to toss money, it's all going towards your principal, and it's knocking that down so that when the CARES Act goes away, which is supposedly going to be January 1st, you may have helped yourself out and really knock down some of your principal on your student loans instead of just paying the interest. We'll see what happens with the CARES Act. Is there any seniors like in this Zoom here that, okay. So, if this CARES Act continues, it's certainly something to consider, depending on kind of what you do after pre-med. And if you decide to start paying back some student loans, I would keep an eye on this. I think it's still up in the air right now. A lot of it obviously has to do with our election, and we're kind of in limbo right now. So this CARES Act may continue. And so it's a conversation to have, and it's certainly something to look into. And if anyone obviously needs help, please don't hesitate. The student loan forgiveness, and I attached the link, so if anyone needs that, that's kind of like that's the website where you can go check it out. That you may qualify, you may not. There's different kind of stipulations that you have to kind of check off. There's a checklist, and if you qualify for it, some states and some government government jobs or state jobs allow you to, essentially, if you stay in that state for X amount of years and you work for that institution, they'll actually forgive your student debt for you. So, you know, my brother's doing that. He teaches in New York. He's staying there for 10 years. And ultimately, he's going to kind of pay the minimum on his student debt. And then after those 10 years, essentially New York State will forgive his student debt for him. So those are different things to look at. And I would, you know, suggest anyone to research the CARES Act. I would look into, you know, the link there for any student loan forgiveness. You know, if there's career paths that fall under those kind of stipulations and guidelines, and that's something that you really want to get into, you know, it might make sense, and it might be a perfect, you know, kind of a perfect storm for you. So, you know, we'll get into kind of the bullet at the bottom, budgeting, having a financial plan, and making some financial sacrifices where possible. I'll dive into that a little bit going forward, but really, you know, budgeting, I know it's kind of a vague term, and I think we all try and do our best to budget. But when you think about, you know, when you think about the amount of loans that you are facing, it's important to have a budget. So budgeting when you can, saving when you can, and being able to pay that extra towards your student debt is obviously very important. And is everyone following along? Are the slides transferring good and everything? Just want to make sure. Okay, cool. Okay, so insurance. It's kind of a interesting topic. There's a lot of insurance out there. The first thing here you'll see, so as of 2015, more than 64% of physicians experience one malpractice lawsuit by the age of 54. So what that means is you're getting sued by a patient for something that they believe you did incorrectly. Now, whether that's, you know, true or not, it can be very costly, especially, you know, if you're running your own practice or if you are working for a practice. You know, 6 out of 10 may experience this. So putting some insurance plan in place to make sure that if this does happen to you, you know, you have the ability to financially afford it. Because I promise you, although you may think, you know, physicians and you know, doctors charge a lot of money, I promise you lawyers charge quite a bit more. So having the insurance in place if this was to happen to you to cover those expenses is very important. You know, in a couple bullet points, you know, are you planning on having a family? You know, are you going to be the sole income provider for your family? No one likes to think about the worst case scenario. If something were to happen to you and you were to leave behind your husband or wife or children, but having insurance in place to ensure that your family is taken care of, God forbid, if anything were to happen to you, is very important. Obviously, can't survive without income. And if you're the individual that is supplying the majority of the income for your family, it's important to make sure that you know, you are insured financially. So there's different things that you can look at there as well. Moving forward, just some solutions. So there's malpractice insurance, which is kind of basically if you were to get sued, the costs are covered by the insurance company. Having some sort of life insurance. And if you don't know much about life insurance, it can be complicated. There's a ton of different types of life insurance that you can implement. And all of them have different benefits. they have positives, they have negatives, and we can dive into that at a later date if anyone has questions. But it's certainly something to consider, when you do start practicing. And then disability insurance, if something were to happen to you on the job and you got hurt, injured, you couldn't work, disability insurance gives you a check for anywhere from 60 to 70% of your annual income. So, if one of my friends, he's an attorney, and he's representing a dentist that was putting boxes away in the storage closet, and something off the top shelf fell on his head, and he actually was injured. Like he could not move his neck and practice, 100%. He had disability insurance, and so he's able to still, pay the bills, provide for the family, until he's back in good shape and good health. So that's kind of an example. You never know when these things are going to happen, and having the insurance in place prior to some freak accident like this is very important, especially in your line of work. So moving forward, saving in retirement. Obviously, and not obviously, I mean, some of you may want to work the rest of your lives. I know I don't. I'd like to relax, and hopefully sit on a beach somewhere and enjoy some beverages. But if you guys are all thinking about that as well, putting some of your income away and investing it and saving it is very important. And so if you guys have any like paper or pen by you, just kind of follow along with this. So let's just say you're making $200,000 a year, okay? In the state of Arizona, after your federal and income tax, you're giving about 30% in tax, okay? So that's about $60,000. After that $60,000, you've got $140,000. Now, because graduate school for medical professionals is so much longer, you're in school for a lot longer than the typical individual. Although you're going to be making more money than the average, let's just say business degree, you are going to be missing out on those X amount of years of saving for retirement. So someone that, let's just say, gets a sales job after a 4-year degree is doing okay. And the 5 years that you're in your graduate program, they're working for 5 years and they're putting aside money towards their retirement account. You're kind of 5 years late to the party, if that makes sense. So putting aside more money for folks like you towards your retirement is very important. So on average, we recommend putting roughly 20% of your income into some type of savings in retirement. So what that looks like, taking 20% of your $140,000, right, after the taxes, you're looking at another $28,000 towards retirement. Your take home after just those two things, taxes and retirement planning, looks more like $112,000. So you've gone from making $200,000 to closer to $100,000 just with kind of those two bullet points. And then, we toss in the student debt, your mortgage, and typical expenses, right? It goes a little quicker than you may anticipate. And it's nothing to scare you, because the 20% that you're putting away is going towards your retirement lifestyle. But it's just important to lay these things out, because sometimes we're not taught these things in school, and it's kind of basic everyday stuff that I think we should be learning, right, in school. Obviously, you're learning about the human anatomy and how to deal with whatever field you get into, but you also need to be able to know how to utilize your financial income to set you up for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So I just like to lay that out. Obviously, I think there's a misconception sometimes about paying off your student debt and then saving. There's planning to put in place to put enough towards your student debt to knock it down, while also making sure that you're putting money towards your retirement. There's a fine line. Some people don't believe in that theory. They think, oh, I'm just going to pay off my student debt and then I'll start saving. You figure you graduate school and let's say you're practicing, your mid-20s, and if you were to, in your mid-20s, start paying off your student debt, takes you 10 years. You're 35 starting to save for retirement. That's a little late, I would say. Obviously, the earlier you can start, the better. So once again, weighing out the pros and cons to both options, and just making sure that you have your checklist, everything's good, you have a plan in place so that you don't have to worry about this stress. Take it off your plate and focus on what it is that you love doing, which is helping your patients and doing your job. And that's kind of what we do. That's at least what I try and help with. So another area is, managing a practice. Do you want to do that one day? Do you want to start your own practice? Do you want to have employees? Do you, want to run the show? It's something to consider. It's great, but it is a lot of work. There's a lot of capital that you have to invest as the owner of a business. And not only do you have to be insured from an individual standpoint, right? But you have to make sure that everyone that you're in charge of is insured and taken care of. So having a business plan for a practice is absolutely essential. And this is something, down the road, if anyone is ever thinking about doing, it's always good to have conversations earlier and just kind of chat about, hey, is there things that I can do now to make sure that I'm, okay when I decide to make the switch and start my own practice. I will say people that start their own practice, and if they do it correctly, do very well. There's a lot of tax benefits when you own your own business. And, you're able to create the lifestyle or the, you're allowed to dictate how your day-to-day goes. And so a lot of people that we work with that have their own practices absolutely love it. I would imagine that the first couple of years are a little stressful, just like starting any business. But from a financial side of things, having a plan in place is obviously extremely important. So those were just a few things that I kind of wanted to touch on. Obviously, I'll open it up here for any questions. Here's my contact info. I'm on LinkedIn if anyone wants to add me. Should start having some content here on a lot of these topics. I'm just moving over to a new firm here, so I'm kind of waiting for some of my paperwork to get transferred over. But we're going to start doing a lot of videos, some podcasts, and just a lot of informational type seminars. So would love to have you guys join, listen in, get some pointers, get some tips, and, provide any feedback, any topics that you may think you want to learn about. That's really what I want to try and do is help people like you and your classmates with whatever topics that it is you're maybe not, learning in school. So I'll open up the floor here. and feel free to ask any questions.
What field are you working in?
So I'm in finance. I'm a financial advisor. My main clientele is individuals under 40, kind of starting their career. Top three kind of professions would be attorneys, physicians, and just young professionals. And so typically people that are making fairly good money, like I'm sure y'all will, you know, when you get into practicing, but, you know, having a plan in place because there is a lot of student debt, you know, maybe getting married, maybe wanting to buy a house, you know, what should I do? And so that's kind of what I help with.
What are some, oh, were you gonna say something, Noah? Oh, okay. What are some common mistakes as people are going along in their medical career that you would tell people to avoid?
Yeah, great question. It's not funny. It's interesting to see a lot of young medical professionals driving a brand new Mercedes, a brand new BMW with 200 grand in student debt and a you know, a brand new house in Scottsdale, with literally no, if you look at their financials, nothing is being put towards their retirement. I would say live within your means. Understand that, yes, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to, you know, reward yourself. You know, we all like to have nice things and do fun things, but I'm very, you know, finance oriented, and, you know, my fiance gets mad at me all the time. Like, do we really need this? You know, things like that. You know, should we really go out to dinner tonight? Let's just make dinner at home. And I understand, like, everyone needs to have fun and have a life, but, you know, putting a plan in place and sticking to it. Hey, we're gonna go out to dinner twice a month. Let's budget for it. You know, do I need the Mercedes or can I get a Cadillac? You know, or a used vehicle, right? You know, do I need the brand new house in Scottsdale, or can I maybe get a house with some rental opportunity? You know, maybe there's a casita that can pay for half of my mortgage. You know, things like that are smart moves, and if you make them early, when you're 40, you'll look back and be like, dude, I can buy 3 Mercedes right now, right? So, you know, being able to implement these things at a younger age instead of when you're 40, 45, geez, I wish I did these things. Now what do I do? That's a huge mistake for young high earners.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Another question that I have a couple of questions from students, is how do you prioritize your finances in your life, especially with handling yourself? And then you mentioned that you also have a fiance, factoring both of those in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you gotta write it. I write everything down. I put it in Excel. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is food on the table, right? A roof over your head. Make sure the AC is working. You know, the electric's on. And make sure all the bills are paid first and foremost. You know, make sure your car payment's paid for. Make sure you have some health care, you know, to make sure that you're taken care of. Then you look at your excess income on a monthly basis and say, okay, let's say I have $500 extra income. And this is after I've paid all of my expenses. What do I want to do and what should I be doing? You know, I like to go out and have dinner or have drinks occasionally. Okay. Let's see how much we want to put towards that. And then can we afford to put the remainder into a retirement account? And so when you get on rhythm, especially with the way that we have such an automated system now with paying bills and, you know, everything just comes out of your paycheck into the checking, and then you can have it automated, right? So it's almost like you don't even have to do anything. You can stick to the plan as long as you're actually sticking to the plan, right? And so there's always times where, you know, especially around the holidays, right? You know, we're buying presents, you know, maybe we're buying flights. You adjust and you make the sacrifice maybe in October, knowing that November and December, you're probably going to spend a little bit more, right? And just having those discussions. I mean, talk to people that are in your shoes. Talk to people like me. You know, talk to your parents. I mean, they've all been through it. And so just getting insight on, and I think understanding what's important to you, you know, and to be completely honest, there's some people that don't give a crap about retirement. They want to travel every single year as much as they can, and they'll work till they die. And that's okay. I mean, if that's really what you want to do, that's fine. But you still need a plan, you know, to save for your trips. If you need to put $10,000 away every year, you still got a budget. So everyone's plan is different, and just implementing it and sticking to it and having those discussions early on is definitely very important.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
To follow that up, the next question was about credit versus non-credit. Should students be building up their credit now, or using that in medical school? And how does that look?
Yeah, good question. So I've had a credit card since I was 16. But that being said, every time I use my credit card, I pay it off. There's a difference between getting a balance on your credit card and racking up interest rates. Credit card interest rates are insane. I mean, absolutely insane. If you're swiping your credit card with everything and you're not going right into your checking account on your app and paying it off, it's one of the worst things you can do. Now, if you're doing it correctly, like I use my credit card for everything and then I just pay it off, it's great. And building credit early is extremely important. When you go to look to buy a car, when you go to look to buy your house, you know, having credit is essential. So credit cards are fine as long as you remind yourself that if you think of your credit card as your checking, right, instead of just an endless supply of money, then it's a smart move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Would you, for dealing with credit card companies, would you recommend going towards more of banks or private companies like Discover and X, Y, and Z?
It's, you know, it's personal preference. Like for me, I have a Southwest credit card because I fly Southwest a lot to go home. So like, to be honest, I mean, aside from building my credit, you know, I do it for the points, which is okay. I mean, if you can get a credit card that gives you great points towards whatever it is that you may utilize a lot, hotels, you know, flights, sometimes you just get points in cash that you can put towards your balance. That's what I would look into. I don't think it necessarily matters bank, private, as long as you're utilizing it the right way and you're never paying interest on it. That it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and then, sorry, with all these questions, another question a student had, yeah. Another question a student had was, with their spending habits, how do you, like, going back to priorities, they spend a lot of money on coffee, it seems, and impulsive, like, stress buying. How do you fix those habits is what the question seemed to ask, and make more good, establish better habits is what the question seems to be asking.
Yeah, so I mean, habits are a part of life, like no matter however you look at your life, right? I mean, if you want to lose weight and you're not setting aside time to go to the gym, then you're probably not going to lose the weight. You know, if you go to the gym 3 times and then stop for 2 weeks, you're probably not getting into a habit, right? So whatever works for you. I know for me, like just having a calendar in place, I block off my time. Like every morning I have my hour and a half to work out, you know, get ready for the day. I make breakfast, and then I have, you know, my meetings, whatever my task to do every single day. And I just get in the habit. I think a big thing, and I know, like, I probably sound old, like I'm relatively out of college, so I totally understand what goes on in college, but, you know, like just having a set time that you wake up every day is probably one of the biggest things you can do. You know, if you are spending too much money on coffee, wake up 10 minutes earlier and pop something in your Keurig. I mean, you can do it, right? You just have to set the time to do it. If you get coffee in the middle of the day, put it in a shaker bottle and put it in your backpack. And when you want your coffee, I mean, go grab some ice and make an iced coffee, right? There's things you can do. It's just doing it. And I know that's easier said than done, but once you get in the rhythm of these things, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish, I think getting in the rhythm on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, when you start doing things for 6 weeks, it becomes a habit and it becomes almost second nature. So, you know, getting past that 2 month gap of doing things consistently, I think is key, no matter what it is you're trying to solve or change.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for those well thought out answers.
Of course.
So what would be the best way to start saving money now since we're still in college?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a lot you can do. You know, when you're in college, so I'm not sure if any of you have jobs, you know, if your jobs offer a 401k plan for part-time employees, that's a great way. 401ks, essentially, when you receive your paycheck, let's say you get a paycheck for $500, prior to you paying taxes, you can set aside a percentage of that $500 to go into a retirement account without being taxed. So, you know, you put aside $50 every paycheck, it's not taxed. That money grows without being taxed. And then you can't touch it until you're 59 and a half years old. Now, when you pull it out at 59 and a half, then you pay tax on it. So in short, if your company offers a 401k, that's great. Other ways, you know, would be a Roth IRA. Those are great as well. Same principle, goes in, it grows tax deferred. And basically you can put up to $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA. And at the end of the year, you can actually deduct what you've put into it from your income tax. So there's a lot of things to do. And if you are ready to implement any of those, feel free to contact me. I can help you out. You know, I know a lot of people are into kind of the Robinhood and the free things. It's cool, you know, and it may sound cool, and you may be doing great. Some people may do great. I know, like, when I was in college, prior to getting to the finance degree, I would not have known what I'm buying or doing. So if you have questions, going through some of that stuff, if that's what you're into, let me know, because I know it can be complicated.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, touching on what you just said about Robinhood, I personally have an Acorns account. So for students like me that have like accounts like Acorns, like, is that a good thing, a bad thing? Should we just hold off and learn more about investing and whatnot, or is that something that's okay to go through?
Also, could you explain what that is? Because I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. So I believe Acorn is like when you go to the store and you buy something for $1.50, the extra 50 cents, they round up to $2, right? And the 50 cents goes into a retirement account. If that makes sense. You spend $2.98. The other 2 cents go into the retirement account. Robinhood is a free app that a lot of people are using. They don't charge fees, but just be careful on that. There's a lot of fees underlying when you purchase the funds. But anyways, it's a way that a lot of younger people are getting into actually buying stocks, bonds, ETFs, and mutual funds. And so the Acorn and the Robinhood, I mean, listen, if you're already thinking about setting money aside, even if it's spare change and getting it invested, I mean, you're ahead of the curve, right? I'm never going to knock anyone for doing that. That being said, I'd like to look at what it's being put into and make sure that it's good funds, make sure that they're not super expensive. There's ways that you can look up they're called the ticker symbols of the funds and actually look at how much it's costing you. And basically, like, if there is a cost for everything you buy. And so even though you're not necessarily paying a fee to use Acorn, every time you purchase a fund, let's just say your $100 over the next month, let's say it gains $50, they're taking a portion of that $50, and that's how Acorn makes money. So just having a better, just making sure that you're in the right stuff. The key is being very diversified, spreading out your risk so that when things like the coronavirus, when the crazy presidential election happen and the markets are all over the place, you're not dropping down, 30% loss. Maybe you only lose 10%. And you kind of minimize your risk. That's the most important thing when getting into investing.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So I guess as we're wrapping up, do you have a couple rules that we can do, like have a takeaway of like top 3 rules while we're in our classes, as well as we're going through our day-to-day lives, to just remember like any like top 3 rules for finances?
Yeah, sure. I would probably go back to the credit card thing. It's great if you use it the right way, but the biggest mistake you can make is charging things to your credit card and not paying them off. Number 1, pay off your credit card at the end of the month. I'd say number 2, just being cautious of what you're spending money on. Like I get it. Like I was in school, going out to Starbucks and GCBC, right? And getting the coffee on campus. Like, it's fun and it should be a part of your college experience. But if you're doing it every day and every time you get a cup of coffee, it's $10, that's $70 a week, right? I mean, you could go buy a Keurig for $70 and make the coffee in your dorm room. So just be conscious of what you're spending your money on. And if you have the ability to put your money towards things that grow your money, you know, like your Acorn account, things like that, you know, maybe sacrifice some of those disposable things and start thinking about the long term. And then, I don't know, maybe 3, like just, you know, think about what you're going to do, you know, post school. It comes fast. It's exciting. You know, you're going to start making some money, you know, maybe have your own place. But with that, you know, comes a lot of responsibilities financially, personally, you know, family, all of those things. So just sitting down, pull out Excel and make a list of everything you got to pay for. And I know it sounds kind of easy, but just do it. And then make another column of how much you're bringing in each paycheck and just simply subtract it and see how much you have left over. Set aside a couple $100 every month to do things that are fun, you know, that you enjoy doing, and see if there's room to put the excess money into things that make you money, you know, in the long run. And I'd say that's probably a solid question. $10 for coffee at GCU. I was being a little dramatic, but so anyways, I would say those are top 3. And you know, let me know if anyone has any questions. Any book recommendations? Trying to think. I have a lot of books, like more kind of financial advisor related. But let me think on that. I can probably I can ask around and you know, pull some stuff up, and I can send it over to Noel, and you know, you can shoot it out there. Any other questions, guys? Cool. Well, my email's there. You know, Noel, feel free to share it. Add me on LinkedIn. Like I said, hopefully in the next couple months here after the holidays, I'm going to start doing a lot more videos, podcasts, things like that. So you'll probably be able to grab some good bites of information there. And don't hesitate to reach out. You know, I'm more than happy to answer anyone's questions. Shoot me an email, shoot me a LinkedIn message. And, you know, if you ever want to meet on campus and grab lunch or whatever, you know, let me know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I hope everyone got a lot of great information out of this presentation. If you have any other questions or comments for Max, I went ahead and put his email address in the chat. So go ahead and grab a pen and write it down for yourselves. But that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.